Jacob, today is National Cold Cuts Day. What's your go-to lunch meat?
My go-to lunch meat would either be Cloverdale summer sausage, or I like to buy this. Um, this is the only thing I'll go organic on. I do like organic turkey, like turkey breast.
Oh, get out of here.
Or I love me a good old bologna sandwich too. Oh, I love me some
Oh,
bologna.
oh my gosh. You talk to Taylor Scott. Have him teach you the old bologna bowl. Can't believe you didn't say like ham. I'll agree with you
I'm
on
not
the
a big
summer
ham
sauce.
fan.
Oh, jeez. You get out of here.
Not on a sandwich for Thanksgiving. Give me ham over turkey a million days out of the week because no one knows how to cook a turkey properly.
Oh, I won't disagree with you there, brother. Won't disagree with you there. Well, hello, boys and girls, to the Low and Brother podcast. For today, our main two topics are going to be NFL and college basketball. Might be a little shorter episode, but it's NFL. We got NFL drafts coming up, some more trade questions, and then with March Madness coming up, we have a little kind of topic to deal with March Madness. But to start today, we go to the Colts. There's been some talks about what the Colts should do with Wentz. Should they trade him? Should they keep him? I mean, I feel like it would depend on who you ask. Everyone will give you a different opinion about Carson Wentz. I mean, bias aside for Jacob and I mean, the fact that, Wentz went to NDSU, we'll give our best opinions on this. But Jacob, I mean, the Colts had 1 year with Wentz. I didn't think it was the worst season ever. Do you think it's a good move for him to move Wentz? Maybe deal someone with him to get him out of there and bring a different quarterback in? I mean, they got a strong running game with Jonathan Taylor back there, and I think building around him, having a good quarterback back there, really assists the offensive game. And do you think they should deal Wentz? And if you think so, where do you think they should deal him to? Or where would Wentz's ideal place be?
I really believe that this year's Colts team is kind of like last year's Rams team, where maybe just like a little bit of an upgrade at quarterback could go a really long way. But I just don't know who they can get without having to give up too much is the problem here. Like Wentz isn't the problem. Kind of like, I mean, Goff wasn't the problem in LA a couple of years ago, but they could have just used a little bit better quarterback, and it worked out for them. Like I said, I mean, the problem is I can't. I mean, there's some guys on the market, like he said, like Deshaun Watson. I mean, maybe Russell Wilson, but as far as I know, this Seattle has no interest in trying to trade him. So I kind of think he's off the table. I just don't really know who's worth them giving up so much for, to try to make an upgrade, because he didn't have that bad of a season. It wasn't great. I mean, and a lot of Colts fans are going to have that real stinger from that last game of the year where Wentz kind of choked it down and cost them the playoffs. And that's kind of why you upgrade a quarterback, right? Is to have a guy who's going to perform in situations like that. But I just don't really think he's the problem. Except I don't think he's also the reason they're winning games either. But I just don't like the idea of trading away like future assets. Or like I said, I saw an article on ESPN asking if they should include Quentin Nelson in a deal. And considering he's one of the better offensive linemen in the league, I hope they wouldn't do that. So I don't know. That's kind of my thoughts. Kind of a long drawn out way of saying I think they like should try to trade him, but I don't really. But I'm not sure they like need to. Like I think they should shop him around and see like what they can get for him. Like I said, like they should only trade Wentz to upgrade. They shouldn't trade him for assets. Like they should only be upgrading. So that's just kind of my thoughts on that one.
Yeah, no, I mean, he didn't have a bad season with the Colts. I mean, he had 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Yeah, he's not throwing 40 and high 30s like some of like the best quarterbacks in the league were doing. But like, I mean, that's a good ratio. I mean, his passing rating this year was 94.6. Like, he just did it. Basically, like you said, I like your example with the Rams. Is with Jared Goff. Like, he wasn't the problem, but they upgraded. And yeah, if the Colts could upgrade, I think they could be a better team. But I don't think they should trade him for assets or anything like that. Like, for how much? Like, and I told you this before the podcast too. Like, when he was with Philadelphia, I don't think he was not the problem. I think it was the Eagles like not being able to block for him, and like his career stats honestly aren't bad. Like his like on average, he has 4 seasons with only 7 interceptions and with like 33 and like a mid-20 touchdowns. Like he's gonna get the job done for a team, but I don't know. Like I said, we have yet to see him like finish like this year with the Colts, and I don't think this trade, if they can upgrade, that'd be great. I've seen stuff about how Tampa Bay should maybe try to trade for him because I mean, Tampa Bay's got a lot of targets and people around him that he could succeed with, like lots of targets. I mean, a fairly decent defense, and I think that'd be great for the Tampa Bay. I just don't know. Like I said, they're not going to.
You have no idea who the Colts quarterback is going to be in that situation because the Bucs don't have anyone to trade them. They don't have a high enough pick to be able to take one of the rookies and see and try to win on a rookie deal, which is actually a good idea. Like if the Colts could trade, with a team who had a pick where they could get Pitts or Willis. I mean, maybe see if you can win with him in the next 3 years. But like,
yeah, no,
I'd rather keep Wentz, honestly.
No,
he's not the problem.
No, for sure. I agree. And the Colts are a good team, and I think Wentz being on. I mean, the Colts, like I said, they didn't have a bad season. Yeah, they didn't finish where they could have. I think next year they could be a really good team. If Wentz goes off, like has a very great season, like that's gonna be a tough team to beat. But like I almost put him as like the Kirk Cousins. Like he's gonna get the job done. He's gonna do what he needs to do. I mean, he might not perform in the highest places, which you want out of a quarterback, but I mean, he's going to get the job done enough for your team. And I don't know where Wentz. I feel like Tampa Bay would be a great spot for him to go. But like I said, I mean, the Buccaneers. I mean, unless the Colts just don't want a quarterback, and they just want a bunch of assets and try to bet on, maybe signing a quarter. Well, yeah, there's not a lot of quarterbacks left out there right now. I mean, unless. Who knows if Aaron Rodgers out there? I mean, you put Aaron Rodgers on a team, Aaron Rodgers makes any team better. But I don't know. I think personally they need to stick with Carson Wentz, like I said, unless they can upgrade to a better quarterback, which in the league.
I mean, like if they can get Aaron Rodgers, I mean, I'd trade 4 first-rounders for Rodgers, but I just don't think I don't really think they're going to trade for Rodgers. So,
well, and like some of these people that I think are better, clearly like Matt Stafford, Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, like those type of players. But none of those teams are going to trade for like straight up for Carson Wentz. And the only team that would maybe do it is if the Packers, and that'd be only if Aaron Rodgers wants to go to the Colts.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
so
that'd be a good straight up trade. But besides that, like you're not going to get anyone better who's going to be willing to trade their best player, like a star quarterback like that. So I think the best solution is keep Wentz. The only way to say get rid of him if for some reason Aaron Rodgers wants to come to the Colts, and that'd probably be a good swap trade, like almost like literally the Lions and the Rams. It'd be the same thing, except the Lions are always been terrible and the Colts are decent. But I
would like to see where the Colts would be if they could have held on to
Andrew Luck.
If they could have held on to Andrew Luck, I mean. It's kind of sad how short his career was, but I mean, I don't even blame him. I mean, he had all those injury problems, and he just didn't want to deal with it anymore. I mean, respect. And I mean, the Colts offense. I'm looking here; they were 9th in scoring offense, up there in yards. They're the best rushing team with Jonathan Taylor. Like I said, and that line is good. It's like they don't need a quarterback to play lights out, like at all. Exactly, is the thing.
Yeah. That's what I think.
I just think there's this weird idea that unless you have a top 4 quarterback of all time, you can't win a Super Bowl, which is, I mean, it's just kind of crazy. Like I said, I mean, teams have won. Teams have won with guys who are. I mean, Russell Wilson's great, but I mean, are we going to act like second and third year Russell Wilson was what was an MVP caliber quarterback? No, they ran the ball down everyone's throats and they played good D. I mean, it works, not for everyone. Yep. I mean, sometimes Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady win. But I mean,
yeah, well, I mean,
there's more than one formula to win a Super Bowl. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Also, yeah, the Colts defense is good, but it was no Legion of Boom.
No, I mean the Colts. What was the Colts defense like? And I mean, the Colts had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, so Colts were ninth in scoring. That is so crazy. The Colts were ninth in scoring offense and ninth in scoring defense, and they managed to miss the playoffs.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. I mean,
Especially with the run game like that. Granted, the defense could have looked a little bit better because they ran the ball so well, and in time of possession thing. But they were good. They maybe just get a they do get a couple good free agency signings. I don't know what their cap situation is like. Get a couple good draft picks and an impactful rookie. They could. I'm not saying Super Bowl contenders. They could be a top 5 team in the league with the roster they have right now with a couple minor additions. And if they could just finish games.
And I just looked at all their losses this season. They had only one double-digit loss. Two, because the Seahawks the first game. But all the rest of their games were like 3 or 7. They just came down to 3 or 7 points at the end of the game.
They just need to be able to finish some games, and they'd be fine.
Yeah, I know. I definitely agree with you there, for sure. But talking about trading Wentz and talking about these draft picks and stuff like that, let's move on to the NFL draft that's going to be coming up in here in April. So we kind of discussed. I think moving forward, I think we put our opinions out there that who should these top 3 teams take in the NFL draft? There's a lot of good names out there. There's definitely not a quarterback heavy draft that we've seen the past couple of years. This is not a quarterback heavy draft in the slightest. And so we have the Jaguars at number 1, the Lions at 2, and the Texans at 3. Jacob, where do you think these teams should lead towards on, or who do you think should be the 1, 2, 3, and who should be taking what these teams should be, who they should be taking?
Before this, I was looking at team defense, team offense, and then I was specifically looking at their offensive line's pass rush win rate and their run blocking win rate, and the Jaguars and the Texans at 1 and 3, they need someone to shore up the line, especially the Jaguars. The Jaguars have the best run blocking center in the league, but the problem is they couldn't protect Trevor Lawrence. He had no time to throw, and they statistically, in terms of scoring offense, had the worst offense in the league. They weren't the worst in yards, but they were definitely up there. So they couldn't get the ball in the end zone. They couldn't score, and a lot of that just kind of revolves around. Trevor Lawrence just needed some help. So, I think them shoring up at offensive line at that first pick is probably a good way to go. I saw Mel Kiper has them picking offensive tackle from NC State. I'm going to botch his name, Ikem Ekwonu. I've seen Evan Neal in a lot of mock drafts going number 1 out of Alabama. That's kind of who I'd go with, but that's just because I only know the guys who play for the big schools. So, that's just me. I'm having a bias and not watching enough college football probably. But, they should definitely go tackle. If they decided to go with Aiden Hutchinson number 1, that also wouldn't be the worst idea. They were also really bad on defense. And if you look at their win rates in terms of pass rush win rates, they're down there. They're not bad. They're 22nd. But who is way down there in pass rush win rate is the Lions, who are second to last, and that's why they should take Aiden Hutchinson at number 2 or Kayvon Thibodeau. They can go either or, but I'm a Michigan guy, and pretty much everything I'm seeing, they're gonna have Aiden Hutchinson being the first defensive lineman taken. So I think the Lions will probably should go Aiden Hutchinson at number 2, and then the Texans should go offensive lineman as well and take whoever, Evan Neal or the Ikem Ekwonu, who's ever left. Except, you look at the Texans offense, and they were third to last in offensive scoring. So they are a team who needs a quarterback, but there just isn't a quarterback you can justify taking at 3. So maybe they trade down. Maybe they trade down and say, we're going to pick up a quarterback. We like Pitts or we like Willis. Maybe we trade back and get 2 first-rounders. We pick up an offensive lineman around the 16th, 17th pick, maybe. I don't know. Because there's good linemen throughout the draft. You don't have to take a lineman in the first 5 to get a good lineman. So that's just kind of my general thoughts without diving into how every single team's their offensive line ratings and stuff. But that's just kind of my general thoughts here.
Yeah, no, I'll disagree with you on one thing. The Jaguars, they need to take an offensive lineman. Like, they drafted a quarterback last year, and now they got to protect him. And like I said, I follow college football a lot, just not like in depth of positions, especially when it comes to offensive linemen and defensive linemen and linebackers and stuff like that. I mean, and I hate to say it, but like I'm clearly one of those just people that's just like, oh, quarterback, wide receiver, D-back, like, all the big playmakers and stuff like that. And I'm a big offensive lineman guy. Like you got to have a good line, and offensive linemen, like the line of teams, don't get enough credit where credit is supposed to be given. But the Jaguars need to shore up their line. So I think, yes, Evan Neal, I mean, from what I see from Alabama, I mean, I think whoever they think the best offensive lineman for them, whoever that is, I think they need to take. The Lions, yeah, definitely. They need an edge guy. You're the bias of Agent Aiden Hutchinson. I from what I see when I look on, the mock drafts and stuff like that, position rank, it says Aiden Hutchinson is 2, but like I said, I don't know enough about that stuff. Like Kayvon Thibodeau is ranked first. I mean, I don't think you can go Aiden Hutchinson. Clearly, I watched a lot of Michigan games because I'm a Big Ten guy. Like, that dude was just an animal to be like. He's just an animal. Like, the only thing is I could say about Aiden rather than Kayvon is that Aiden Hutchinson, was he not get injured his junior year and was like out for the whole season, or sophomore year?
Yeah, he didn't. He missed a lot of that COVID season 2 years ago.
So I mean, you could think of he's injured. He's a senior. He's a little older. Unlike Kayvon, who is a sophomore, younger guy. They might have him for. I don't know. That's just a thought. I don't think they go wrong with either one of those picks. I as being an Ohio State fan, I think they should go Kayvon just because I don't want to see. But then again, here's the thing: is on these mock drafts I see Aiden Hutchinson or something going second, and Kayvon going fourth. And I was about to say I'd love to see Aiden Hutchinson go to the Lions, but that fourth pick is also the Jets. So like, either one of them would probably go to a very bad team. But this is where I'm going to change it up. I don't think the Texans should go with an offensive lineman. I think that they should take, if Lions take Aiden Hutchinson, they should take Kayvon. The Texans are bad everywhere. You look at their offense, defense, they're like the worst in the league in about every single category.
I can't think of one good player on the Texans.
And they're just awful. And I understand, and maybe you want to build up a good line, so then like next season, and maybe probably just accept that next season they're going to suck again, and hope that there's a really good quarterback that can take off early on the board next year. But on a part of me is just like, I think they should sure up the defensive side first. And we saw Joe Burrow last year get beat up, and Trevor Lawrence get beat up this year too. I don't want they're shoring up an offensive line for not even having targets or anybody around them. And I feel like they can get people in the offseason and stuff like that in the next couple of years to maybe help build that offensive line, that if they got a quarterback next year, they could be more sure up there. Yeah, maybe not as good as taking someone third pick, but my opinion, I think they should take an edge guy, sure up the defensive side a little bit more. That's my opinion. But the thing is, the Texans need every position. So honestly, just maybe taking the best player off the board at the time is just the best option for them.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that sentiment. Like I said, they're terrible ever, and honestly, this pick is going to come down to. Like I said, I mean, I don't know what their cap situation looks like, but I'm assuming it's very good due to the lack of talent on that roster. So I'm going to assume they have a ton of cap. They said they might draft. They said they might draft Thibodeau. They might draft Evan Neal. I've seen the safety out of Notre Dame, Kyle Hamilton, up there in a couple. So maybe they'll go, hey, let's go secondary. Like I said, like whoever they think the best player on the board is at that point. Or, might say, we have plans to address this need and this need in free agency, so we should pick in this general position, in the draft. So, honestly, I don't think they can go wrong with any pick there because they're so bad everywhere. Like, it's not like the teams above them where they have clear needs. Like, Detroit's offense wasn't the worst there. I mean, they're not good by any stretch of the imagination, but Detroit's offense was, like 26th ish. Like I said, still bad, but like like I said, they're second to last in pass rush win rate, and if you can't get to the quarterback, you're just not going to win games.
Yeah, no, I agree with you right there. I honestly, what I'd love to see them is just trade down, to like the fifth or sixth pick, and trade back, and then maybe get a pick for next draft, like second round or something, just to sure that up for them is what I would love to see. But
like I said, if I were them, I would really consider trading back to like 11 or 12.
For sure.
Because like I said, I think they need a quarterback, and I don't foresee them signing or trading for a good one. So like,
and I don't. Well, the thing is,
they
I don't
might as
think
well
a
try
quarterback
and see
this season.
It might not be. Or what they could do is they could wait until the second or third round and kind of see if they can find a Russell Wilson, get him cheap, start him this year, see what happens. If he sucks, you draft one next year. Like I said, I don't know if maybe they like Pickett. I don't know. Like maybe they like Pickett, maybe they like someone, and they go, okay, maybe we trade back and we just kind of try to get more assets. Where they go, which wouldn't be a bad idea for the Texans because right now they need more quantity than quality. Some teams are a couple quality players away from being decent. Like I said, the Texans need everything. So maybe they should trade back, just try to get more assets as opposed to going for the best guy to try to get more guys.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And I'm clearly not a GM or anything like that. By the time the draft comes around, I'm sure we'll see some picks that have crazy picks, some trades that'll happen. And I'm hoping that's one of them for them. I don't really care. I don't hate or dislike the Texans. They're just that middle ground team, but I think that'd be the best move for them. But speaking of just, the draft, Jacob, clearly being a Seahawks fan, me being a Patriots fan, we talked about the top 3 picks. Who do you think the Seahawks should draft to help their team out more? If it is, maybe you think they should trade a pick, get some more other people around them. Your team with the Seahawks, who do you want them to pick, or who do you think they should pick to shore up their team?
Seattle is notorious for making draft day moves. I saw the other day that John Schneider, since he's became a GM, leads the league in draft day trades. So both in moving up and moving down, he loves to do both. Like I said, he'll trade down if he doesn't like any of the guys and will hoard picks, or he'll trade up. He's notorious for making moves on draft day, so they're definitely going to make a couple of trades. I think they're going to try to move up a little bit because I don't think they want to wait until pick 40 to make their first pick, because they need to address some issues like that. That's not a roster that can afford to not have a first round pick. So I kind of think they'll try to move up. I'd like to see them shore up the line a little bit. The line's not as bad as it used to be, but like I said, they need to shore it up. We might lose Dwayne Brown on the left side tackle there. So I'd like to see them shore up the line a little bit. I also wouldn't be all that upset if they decided to go secondary. We don't need a second safety, so a good corner would be real nice. Or defensive line. We're also kind of short on linebacker right now after KJ Wright went to the Raiders last year. So honestly, anywhere in defense besides safety or line is kind of the way I'd like to see the Seahawks structure this draft around.
Okay. No, I wouldn't disagree. I don't really follow the Seahawks awfully too much, so I'll just take your word for it. But
yeah, so how about you tell me about the Patriots then? I'll do a little tit for tat here.
Yeah, well, looking prior after mock drafts, what people think Mel Kiper and all this, and looking at their offensive defensive stats, that from what I've seen, and I knew this from the season 2, is that I think that the Patriots need to shore up their rush defense, because they're kind of middle of the pack. They were top 10 in scoring, top 10 in defensive scoring too. They had at their passing defense, they were top 5 in the league, and Mac Jones, they have enough targets around and Patriots are more of a, like I said, they're still a strong running team. They're not. Everyone talks about Mac Jones, but they were more running team this year, and I've had 2 different thoughts. I think the Patriots should go with picking a D end or an edge rusher to kind of, maybe not D end, D tackle, something to shore up the rush, the defensive rush game. In my opinion, would I be mad if the Patriots took a wide receiver to give Mac Jones another target, no, I wouldn't be mad about it. But I think they need to shore up that defense. But the thing is, though, who knows what they do in offseason, make trades, stuff like that. They might shore that position up anyways. So, they go with a wide receiver. But, and I've seen some mock drafts where the Patriots some of them have projected them to draft Chris Olave. And as an Ohio State guy, man, I could not complain about that in the slightest. So, from what I see, Patriots do everything pretty decently well all around besides the rush defense. And I think that's just an issue they have to address. I feel like the Patriots might make some moves this draft, try to get higher, maybe just trade away their pick to, Bill Belichick has been a guy to just find – he does a pretty good job of finding dudes who will, follow the Patriot way. Like, he wants to find guys that will buy into his system, not showy guys that are, all about themselves or like these like massive star players. Like, I feel like it's just about people that are going to do it right. And I think that's what we got with Mac Jones too last year. You just got a guy that's going to follow the system, going to do what he's told, and I think that he's going to look for his guy that he thinks is going to help his team out the most.
Like you said to me, I'm going to take your word for it, because I don't know a ton about the Patriots other than you can always count on them to play good defense, and they're good at running back. So I'm gonna take your word for it.
Yeah, but I don't know. We'll have an interesting NFL draft coming up. I'm assuming leading up to it, there might be some trades or something that we can talk about. It'd be fun to talk about when it happens. But I think moving forward, we were talking about some college basketball with March Madness here. Man, who doesn't love a March Madness Cinderella story? And who knows what will be this year? Might be some random team that 11 seed, 12 seed that makes it into the Sweet 16, Elite 8, upsets. I mean, you always love to see that. It's one of the best parts about March Madness. You talked about last week about how you just love, college basketball and, the March Madness because, upsets and stuff like that happens all the time. Like an underdog team, mid-major team could just win it. It's not the Duke, North Carolina's, this and that. But looking back at all time, Jacob, talking about Cinderella teams, who have been some of your favorite Cinderella teams of all time?
I mean, I'm just thinking of obviously all my favorites are going to be the ones that I can remember. Like I don't remember the 2006 George Mason team. That I think that they were like at a 10, 11, 12 seed and ended up making it to the Final Four, I think. But they're one of those legendary teams, in college in college basketball lore. Like I don't remember Steph Curry's Davidsons, but I think the first one that I remember, like big Cinderella, was the 2011 Butler team, the year after they made it with Gordon Hayward, because everyone kind of thought they were out of it. They lost Hayward, and then they made it to the Final Four that year, made it to another title against another one of my favorite Cinderellas the same year. Was when they played 11 seed VCU in the Final Four. Like an 8 versus 11 seed in the Final Four is just, like you said, that was such a great year. And one that
you just don't see that.
Yeah, it was kind of like, a lot of other people's favorites are, that year when Shabazz Napier took a 7 seed UConn to win it all against an 8 seed in the like 7 versus 8 in the championship is unheard of. Just like an 8 playing an 11 in the Final Four. But I think one of my favorite ones actually that no one would ever talk about would be UNI. That one year they made the Sweet 16 and they beat Kansas was like really awesome, because I remember watching that in a hotel at State Basketball, and I'm sure Dad told you a million times that he played against their head coach back in high school. He was Mr. Basketball, went to UND. So I always wanted that team to win, and I remember them making it to the Sweet 16 that one year, and I'm pretty sure they beat Kansas. It was just like super awesome. And then they also had the most epic meltdown in the Sweet 16 that's ever happened. I think they were up like 11 with 12 seconds left and ended up losing. It was some ridiculous thing that they just blew it down the stretch. But like that might be one of my more favorite ones ever. Like, what are some of yours?
Yeah, no, I have 3, and I'm not gonna talk. My bottom one, like I said, clearly everyone, the recent one, Loyola Chicago Ramblers, like
that was such a great team.
And the thing about it, and I don't understand, like that's not the rankings, but like they didn't lose to like the lowest seed that they beat was a 9 seed. Then after that, they beat a 6, a 3, a 7, and then lost to a 3 seed Michigan. Like, it's not like they played like terrible teams. Like, it's not like they just got 10 seed 9s, like a bunch of crappy teams. Like, they actually beat some teams. But I'm not gonna go much of that because that's recent. Everyone knows about that one. One of my second favorite one, honestly, is VCU. And I understand you talk about Butler, but like, dude, like that run that they made I just love, like, I know 7 seeds and 8 seeds, like, those are underdog Cinderella stories, but like I see these 11 seeds and stuff like that, and I just love it. Like, 11 seed VCSU team, and they beat the number 1 ranked Kansas, like in their side. I don't know if Kansas was the number 1 team that year or not, but like in their side of the bracket, they beat number 1 Kansas, number 3 Purdue, and then they beat some other, 11 60s, but like they beat some tough teams to go there, and they lost to Butler by 8 going into the Final Four, which could have easily seen an 11 seed going into national championship would be absolutely crazy. But Jacob, my favorite Cinderella story is the 2013 Florida Gulf Coast Dunk City.
Dunk City. Oh, those guys were so fun.
Dude, they only made it to the Sweet 16, but as a 15 seed, they beat Georgetown, then they beat San Diego State, and then they lost by 12. And I understand they didn't make that big of a run into it, but as a 15 seed to make it to Sweet 16 is crazy. And I just remember that year because all it was Dunk City. Dunk City. Oh my, that was just, I loved it. That was probably the first time ever, like, I kind of like, probably start the age I just really started following like March Madness and stuff like that, and like just seeing them upset these teams, and it was crazy, dude. Dunk City, easily my favorite one, 100%. Honestly, probably just because of the nickname Dunk City, and like I remember watching them too, and it was just crazy. They just had athletes out there.
I mean, they played pretty small. I don't actually think they played like a traditional big guy a lot of the time. Like I said, I mean, like they just got up and down the floor and just yammed on you. they were awesome.
Yeah, no, that was 100% easily my favorite Cinderella story. I mean, there's many out there you can talk about.
I mean, last year's Oral Roberts team was awesome. They almost made the Elite Eight, which was sweet. I mean, they lost in the Sweet 16 by what, like 2 or 3 points, maybe 1. It was a 1-possession game. They could have won that game against Arkansas.
Oh yeah, for sure. And from what I remember, what I see is that they almost kind of blew, because I'm pretty sure Oral Roberts had the lead going into halftime, and then Arkansas came back, and I think they handily in the second half kind of took over, and just I think they ended up winning by double digits or something like that.
Little Max Abesmith rode that into he's still on the Wooden Award watch list top 20. Basically, after riding that performance from last year's tournament, he's not going to win the Wooden Award. He didn't even win the Player of the Year in the Summit League. Some guy from South Dakota State did. But I mean, listen, Abesmith was awesome. That was such a fun team, and like I said, I mean, like Syracuse that one year was awesome when in 2016. Yeah, 2016, because you were listening to the game during prom, right?
Yeah, I was opening up the door for all the people, and I had a little earbud in my ear listening to the UNC Syracuse game. I remember asking Fritz, I was like, "Do you care?" Because I was like, if I stand on this side, no one on the outside can see that my earbuds in. Like, can I keep it in to listen to this game? He's like, I don't care. I'm just like, yes, go. And I remember when prom started, I just sat in the locker room, and I was just literally just sitting on my phone watching the end of that game. At the end of the game, I was a big UNC fan as I am.
Yeah, it was. Like I said, I mean, I just love talking about the Cinderellas, because I mean, people remember those, every year. I mean, and everyone cheers for the underdogs. I mean, and I always cheer for the underdogs. And I mean, I didn't like it as much because I had Virginia winning it all in all my brackets that one year. But I mean, you can't talk Cinderellas, not talk about that UMBC team who beat Virginia handily. It looked like they were the 1 seed. Virginia was the 16 seed that game. They beat them by over 20.
Yeah, no, like I'm excited for this March Madness and looking forward to the Cinderella story this year. And actually, I'm looking at this right now. I didn't know about the 2006 George Mason Patriots. They were 11 seed, made to the Final Four as well. Yeah, they beat the 3 seed North Carolina from their side. Not saying overall, and then they beat number 1 UConn on their side. Like, and then they got absolutely handled by Florida, who arguably you can say is one of the best college basketball teams ever played.
Yeah, that was Billy Donovan's Florida, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Florida was so good back in the day, and then Donovan went to the NBA, and they made it to the Final Four a few years. maybe not a few years ago, but relatively recently, like within the last 10 years, like they've been good, but I mean, they just, like I said, they haven't quite matched that, mid 2000 success they had with Billy Donovan. But yeah, like, like I said at the beginning, said I couldn't appreciate the team because I don't remember it. Like I said, I don't even remember Steph Curry's Davidson, which would have been when I was like 11 years old. So I probably should remember that one. But like when you're 11, you just pick all the best teams and you don't really pay attention all that closely.
Yeah. No, I get you there, but yeah, I'm just like I said, very excited to see who it is this year. I mean,
I can't wait to cover that. Those will definitely be 2 episode weeks for sure when that starts loading up.
Yeah, March Madness will definitely be something really fun to
Favorite
cover.
time of the year.
Oh, 100% favorite holiday. But well, I think that concludes our podcast for today. I believe next week we should be able to. I'm trying to think. Should be able to do 2 episodes, maybe. I don't know. I guess it depends on what we do for Class A girls there, Jacob.
I suppose, if we end up going to Bismarck.
I might end up leaving Thursday night next week, so it might be 1, might be 2. I guess we'll see. But I guess we'll catch you guys next week, and yeah.